say 39.
Number 1.
39.
1.
38.
37.
36.
35.
34.
33.
32.
31.
30.
29.
28.
27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
22.
21.
20.
19.
18. 17. 16.
15.
14.
13.
12.
11.
10.
9. 8.
7. 6. 5.
4.
3.
2.
1. It's time for mouthwash. Giddy up.
Hi, and welcome to the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty fresh take on politics. And we were going to talk politics tonight. We're actually going to do a little recap of the election. We got a couple special guests on here, good friends of mine. Well, I got in trouble for saying Jim was a good friend of mine, but Michael Hart, they're both good friends of mine. So we're going to talk to them about elections. We'll maybe hear some stories from the campaign trail. I know I got some. And then later on, we got a special surprise for you. We're going to try to do something on live on the air that just may backfire, or it may be the greatest internet ever. So last week, we appreciate you tuning in. I think that was episode 23 with Dana Black and Curtis Hill. They talked about CRT and some other things. I thought that was a pretty good show. I had to edit it down a little bit to get it within the hour. But if you want to go back and check that out, you can. But we're on episode 94. It's crazy. It's been this much. We got a special show for you coming up with episode 100. So, hey, before we get started, I just want to talk about the election. I really lost last week, and it seemed like the parties were the pick. So if you were a Republican in Marion County, it wasn't good for you. If you were a Republican outside of Marion County, it was pretty good for you. So we have Michael Hart. He was a Republican within Marion County as I was, and we both suffered the browbeating that we got. So we're going to talk about those and about how that happened and what's the future for the politic, because it seems like people are so polarized with their parties. And before we get started with our guests, we have to put Doran Brenton on here, ban his wife from the show, mute Tiffany, and let Ed talk. At least I didn't make the hashtag this time, so that's good. So without any further ado, we're just going to bring on everybody tonight. Let's just get them out here. So we'll bring on our guests first, and Ed, and we're just going to get everybody on here and get them arranged. This looks like the Brady Bunch. Let's see how we're going to do this here. Let's see. I'm going to go in the middle. We're going to put Jim on the right, Mike on. All right. This is oh, wait, almost got it done.
Oh, hey.
All right. So how's everybody doing tonight? We'll start from Lucy and go across real quick, and then we'll get to our guests.
Well, I'm grateful that the Libertarian Party has once again won ballot access in the state of Indiana. I disagree with the way that the old parties, suppress that and make it difficult on us. But regardless of that, these do not spark joy, and the Libertarians are still on the ballot. So it's been a good week.
Yeah, it seems like we went around the world but never went anywhere. So, Ed, how's it going up in South Bend?
He's cold. Cold to talk.
Joe County was not all that great. St. Joe County wasn't all that great for Democrats, but it is cold, it is snowing, and
Well, you have your wintertime beard on there, so that's good, and your internet's a little bit frozen as well. So, okay, Tiffany, look at you and your spiffy little glasses there, and stuck at the office tonight. Well, you're really a trooper to get on the show, not even going home.
Yeah, just working a little late tonight. Got my Barbie dream house back there, 1980 edition. Love her so much. The elections in Fisher specifically, we were able to flip all 4 of the district school board seats. We had some folks in there who were not focusing on academics, and Fisher's won. And all the great people here, we were able to get our 4 candidates elected. Tiffany Pasco, Juanita Albright, Don Lang, and Ben Orr. They will join the school board in January. So we were 4 for 4. And of course, Republicans up and down the ballot, and Fishers did well. Outside of Hamilton County, I know Fred Glenn was not as successful as we had anticipated, but his district was some Carmel, a little bit of Fishers, and some Marion County. So definitely you can see the difference between Marion County and the donut counties. So,
Yes. And our next guest knows that very well. Mr. Jim Merritt, we are happy to have you on the show again. You're getting to be a frequent flyer here, and we always appreciate your generosity with your time. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. I just gave a speech on the legalization, or I should say the regulation of cannabis in Indiana and what the future holds on that. So I've had a fun-filled day. We had a press conference down at University of Indianapolis to celebrate 10 years of the Lifeline Law, and I announced that we're asking the legislature to expand the Lifeline Law to from just over-serving of alcohol to under 21-year-olds to people suffering from overdoses. And so that'll be a bill next year that Senator Zay will carry, and hopefully we can get it through to the finish line so the governor can sign it. So it's been a good day.
Yeah, well, you're not in it, but you're still in it. That's sort of what I see. I think you're more active than when you were a senator. So,
well, maybe Jim is officially an influencer.
Yeah, hey, he's influencing our show. so I like that. That.
Jim, as an influencer, you've got to tell us like what to wear and what clothes to what to eat, what clothes to wear. If you're using like an eye cream or a lip plumper, you're supposed to let us know. And then you just show it to us, and then everybody goes out and buys it.
Yeah, join us next week for the fashion show, and we'll have Jim back on for fashion tips. He does have a spiffy tie on, and as soon as he's making this T-shirt wearers look bad here. Michael Hart, you got a cool background going there. Hey, this is the first time you've been on the show, or you've been on before?
Yeah, long time listener, first time joiner.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, hey, the offers are going to start rolling in, and you'll be signing autographs. It'll be amazing for you. You just don't even know how you're going to take off after this. So, hey,
John, you've got the wrong Hart. His wife is the one that's camera friendly.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, she looks like doesn't she do? Isn't she a beautician or hair or what does she do?
She'd be great for spotlighting on the Beauty Week.
Yeah, I see she's got you some stuff going there too. You look like Elio Castaneves on Dancing of the Stars or something. I don't know. Hey, you got it going on there.
I just bought a good camera. That's all.
Okay, I need a really good camera then. Woo. All right, so hey, tell us about what you're up to these days, and we'll get right into the discussion after that.
Hey, time's opening up, right? I just got a lot of my calendar back. That's the good thing about not being successful in a campaign is that you put a lot of time in, and so when it doesn't win, you get a lot of time back. So I plan on putting a lot of that time back into the city council, right? Because that's where it should be put with the people. But time is just opening up.
Yeah, well, and yours was a close, tough race. I mean, we were watching it and it came down and all of a sudden, boom, he just found enough votes. It's like, oh, that seems to be certain ways elections go. If they go on very long, it's like, oh, that's good. So, so that's good. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about the way everyone seemed to vote on their party lines. Let's just bring that out here right now. And, let's just see what your thoughts on that. We'll start with you, Mike. We'll start with you on that. And what's your thoughts on that? What happened?
Absolutely. Well, so the detailed data is not completely out yet. And so for anybody that doesn't know, I'm a IT solution architect. So basically I spend my day solving business challenges with technology, but I've got a degree in programming and another degree in IT. So I'm a nerd at heart. all that being said, so I love to study data, study the numbers, and I always do what's called precinct analysis, which is looking at the individual precincts and seeing the turnout from them. So particularly going into my race, I knew my opponent had beat his opponent last term by about 1,500 votes. And I knew so there was going to be a chance, given it was a presidential year. Everybody expected there was going to be this, red wave of some sort. That didn't happen in Marion County. When we look at the numbers that are available today, straight ticket, it was 2-1. There was 100 Democrat straight ticket votes, 50,000 Republican. And I mean, just down the ballot from some of the races that had some of the most money, right? We talk about the prosecutor's race in DeCaresco. I mean, there's a ton of money there in Marion County, all the way down to, races like mine. I mean, we put a considerable amount. I think the total is going to be close to $150,000 into the state house race, right? That's no small amount. And he didn't see a whole lot of fluctuation in those outcomes, which is, alludes to having just high straight ticket voting in terms of what we got here in Marion County.
Yeah. So, Mr. Merritt, I mean, you hear the term gerrymandering, and, we just had all the districts redrawn. And just as Michael said, it just pretty much went down to the numbers on that. My district that I ran was actually drawn a little bit better for the Democrat. And that's what it seems like that they did. They drew a Democrat stronger and some Republicans stronger. So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's interesting. I worked for Angela Grabowski this time, and along with the school board races out in Brownsburg, and there was a lot of apathy when it came to a congressional race, and the redraw there was it was kind of interesting because Perry Township was a part of Carson's district. And really, it was a place where Republicans could, if they wanted to run against Carson in that district, they could kind of depend on Perry Township to be their benchmark, if you will. And that's no longer there. So it's just more of an uphill climb for Angela. And it's a shame because she was a terrific candidate, put her own money in, and but when it came to Tiffany was talking about school board race out in Fishers, the races out in Fishers and Carmel, in Brownsburg were all different. And in Carmel, the conservatives split the vote and lost. And so there's just a lot of different things going on in politics these days, and it's all about marshaling your forces and not dividing. And but I did see a lot of passion by parents, which is good.
Yeah, it does seem like that people are waking up in some areas, but falling asleep in the others. So, Tiffany, we're going to go ahead and I'm unleashing you guys to ask your questions. I've asked my couple, so go ahead and unmute, Tiffany. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I have a quick question for Jim and Michael. As you're looking at the number of people who voted, did all of your Republicans come out and vote? Were we simply outgunned, or did we not show up? What did your Republicans do?
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I think it turnout, I think, was about 33%. I think there's more Republicans in Marion County that either A, aren't registered, or B, didn't come out in general. I mean, there's still 600,000 people in Marion County that can be registered. And that goes for both parties, right? And so I think, one of the things, if I, reflect on some of the things that I could have changed or some of the things that the party could change, is it's definitely getting more folks registered and being in front of them. And it has to be at the very grassroots level. But yeah, I would say that there's more Republicans out there. Were they registered? I don't know. Could they have come out? If they were, absolutely.
The turnout was low. You said 30%?
Yeah, about 33%.
Yeah. That's one of the things that we found in Fishers was with the 4 candidates that were successful, they spent a lot of time knocking on doors. And I think people were very compelled to vote. So that was something. But I worked at the polls. I was a judge, and I had to explain to people how to vote straight ticket and then how to pick up their school board and then their trustees. So their trustee board. So it was very interesting.
I'd like to just kind of add on to that. comment there by you, Tiffany, that you had to show people how to vote straight ticket and then go back and actually get their county and trustee races in. I actually am a proponent of dissolving and getting away with the straight ticket voting entirely. I believe there are 7 states in the union that allow the straight ticket voting.
6.
And if you 6, okay. Well, shoot, that's even better. Let's get it down to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, none. We have a lot of, and I'm going to pick on both political parties, the old parties here. We have a lot of politicians that simply rely on low intelligence, low information voters who are willing to go in there and hit that straight ticket. Whereas I, feeling like this is the more moral choice, if I don't know about the race, if I haven't researched the candidates, if I'm surprised on my ballot, I don't vote for any of them. And so I refuse to vote for somebody not knowing or making a value judgment based on the political party. And that would go for a libertarian as well. I just happen to be involved enough in the party that I know all of our candidates. So if we could just simply get rid of that straight ticket voting, which I know the Republicans love in the state because it really serves you well, I think that we would be a lot better.
Yeah, well, I think that goes for the Democrats here in Marion County, because when I went to vote, the first thing it asks you is if you want to do straight ticket. It doesn't, and if you don't push next, then you don't, you just stand there and look. And then if you have somebody assist you, they may say, just click that button there or whatever.
I'm in the backwoods. We got a paper ballot. We had, it had the
Oh.
little thing, don't check mark, don't X, you got to fill in the little square.
Yeah,
so we
yeah,
went back
yeah.
to coloring class.
So
So
Jim,
you voted with a paper ballot?
Yes, voted with a paper ballot.
What
But they're
county
like
were you in?
Washington County.
they had
Wow.
banjo music playing in the background too. So,
like legit, there was country music in the
oh
speaker.
yeah, it's standard. They've given out Pop-Tarts and Fresca. So Jim, what do you think about any of that stuff there? The that made me laugh a little bit there, the Fresca.
Well, Tiffany's as always is exactly right. But the Fishers the Fishers school board races were successful because of candidate quality, but also the party was behind them, and they didn't have anybody to split the vote. And I'm writing an op-ed, and it may take me a while because it takes some research, but I think that we need to go back to a point. Let me just say this: the worst vote I ever made as a state senator was taking away the idea of Republican, Democrat, Independent from a school board race. We moved it from the May primary to the general, but we should have kept it partisan because it is partisan. I looked up the number, and the Indiana State Teachers Association, IPACE, PAC, spent $800,000 on races total. I don't know what it was on school board races, but they are a party. They are a political party. And for somebody to say that the school board races are nonpartisan is just rubbish. And we need to get to a point where school boards are appointed like the Muncie Schools that turned around Muncie Schools from a $12 million red ink to just a wonderful school corporation, performing school corporation. Or we need to just be very clear that it is partisan. This is a Democrat, this is a Republican, and this is an independent, because that is how it goes. And that is the truth. And that way we will know who we are voting for, because there were so many people in Carmel that didn't know who was who. And as well as we need a change in the law where school boards, if somebody terminates their term, if they leave the state or something happens to them and they resign, the way you replace a school board member is by caucus. So the school board could have a little party, take all sorts of interviews, and then pick who they want.
Oh,
and that's just not right.
Yeah. Well, I tell you that a lot of these candidates, if you just go to their social media, you'll find out real quick what they are. They don't, there's, it's not usually this or that, or I can't tell. It's, they're RD for sure. So, okay, Tiffany, what you got there?
I wanted to add to what Jim said about the way things happened in Hamilton County, and certainly, well, specifically in Fisher, certainly the party was behind the candidates. But Diane Eaton and Fisher's One did a fantastic job. They started maybe a year and a half ago alerting parents to what was going on, building a coalition, selecting candidates, preparing them, and raising money, started a PAC. So actually at the grassroots level, they were very, very organized, and they handed over to the county, like you said, Jim, really great candidates, you know, a really great plan. We had some really, really good people working on their campaigns, and so that the party could get behind them. But Chairman Massalamany was very upfront when he became the chairman about supporting our school board candidates and the need to flip the seat. So yes, you're right. It was a concerted effort, but at the grassroots, we had a lot of organization there. So we only had one candidate per district, and I know that was really different than Carmel.
Yeah, and so what I'm hearing here is it's all about the support, teamwork, working together. Because, you know, my cousin, Sarah Sampson, ran up in Zionsville, and they did exactly that. They split the vote and the other person won. So, and that was supposed to be a nonpartisan thing. That was two conservatives against a more liberal person. And that's exactly what happened. So Ed, you've been patiently waiting here. Before Dorn lights me up for not letting you talk, I'm going to ask you to ask a question.
You know, I loved what Jim said. I find it interesting here locally that really the only big movement we do see is with the school board, and that nonpartisan part. But I wanted to aim this more towards Michael because, especially what he said, I've noticed some districts around here where we have seen fluctuations in the amount of money spent on these campaigns, that have gone all over the map from very little to $100,000. And as far as the results have gone, you have it. Doesn't matter how much you spend, you don't really see a huge change in the outcome. And so I guess my question to Michael and to Jim would be, how do you overcome that?
So it's the question, how do you overcome the spending?
Or I guess, how do you overcome,
or even just the spending, but the spending not necessarily meaning as much in some of these districts where you could spend $100,000 or you could spend $20,000 and the results seem to come out the same.
I think it's dependent on the race, you know, and that's just coming from running a couple different ones. You know, $100,000 in an Indianapolis City Council race is a really big budget that can go a long way when you start looking at, you know, doing mail. Usually when you see an Indianapolis City County councilor, they're not doing TV commercials. So, you know, trying to get the budget to do that, it's not really part of the strategy. But when you're running a state house campaign, $100,000 really isn't a whole lot when you have to look at the entire geographical boundary of the amount of households you need to send mail to. But then the fact of even, you know, like in my anecdotal case here, you know, my opponent raised enough money to do TV ads, right? Both for him and against me, where I didn't raise that much. So could that influence 250 votes? Absolutely. And then we talk about school board races. You know, again, using that city council as the middle rate, you know, I think I maybe raised 30,000 when I ran for city council, and you know, won with that amount. At the same year, there were IPS school board members who raised over $100,000, and it wasn't really that they raised it, but it was the same. iPace, I think, was the name of the organization that made those contributions to those candidates. So, you know, when I look at some of the school board stuff, you know, to even be in that realm, it's, you know, I would almost beg the question, can we prohibit PACs from contributing to non-political races? Because if school board is going to be non-political, and it is, so can we alleviate the need from political money going into those organizations or those races? But I would say, you know, so can money influence the race? Depends on how close it is. Some of these wide ones, you know, we can go the other way, right? We can look at the prosecutor's race where Cindy Carrasco had outraised the Democratic opponent, Ryan Mears. Ryan Mears still won by that 60-40 split. So I think it would be just dependent on which race we're looking at and how much money and how close they are.
So Michael, to your point, one of the things that I think is interesting in Marion County is that when the Republicans do challenge, the next time around, Republicans, that same Republican candidate usually doesn't take a second bite on that apple. And I think that's one of the things that would be very telling in the long run. I've seen different people run against Andre Carson in the last, I don't know, 6 years or so, and I've never seen somebody take a second bite. And I think if somebody can just say, you know what, I lost, but I've got this momentum, you know, I'm holding him accountable to what he has done and hasn't done. I think until somebody can say, I lost, but I'm going to do it again, that's when you will see real traction there. And you can tell the story, you know, I told you that this was going on and it didn't change. Your life isn't even better. You know, it's been 2 years. It's time to make a change and really, really work that area. I hope Cindy does it. I mean, when you're running to make Marion County a safer place and people tell you no, that's crazy. And people, you know, they need to be held accountable for their actions. It's like, you know, you voted against me and this is what you got. I mean, like, how many shootings were in Marion County yesterday? I mean, you know, the local news is like watching Law and Order. So, I mean, people need to be held accountable to what their vote really means and what they're voting against and what they're voting for. Just my humble opinion.
Okay, that being said, Jim, do you think Marion County is lost? I mean, this is one of the questions that we had on the Twitter there. It's like the discussion is going to be short. So,
well,
what do you think?
I think it's on life support. I don't know how you. I really don't know. You have to get the 3 townships at the base of the southern townships out completely to vote, and that didn't happen in 19, and I don't know if it happened a couple Tuesdays ago. And add money is the mother's milk of politics. There's just no question about it. Tiff, our friend, I've never met her before, and I've got to meet her. Jennifer Ruth Green. She is a very good example of somebody that needs to continue working, and she'll beat Frank. And I hope she takes another bite of the apple, to use your terminology. And so it's really difficult in Marion County with straight ticket voting. It's very difficult for Democrats outside Marion County, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Michael, I love your idea about not allowing those PACs to contribute in nonpartisan races, because that fueled the races out in Brownsburg. I can tell you that for a fact. And it's just interesting. There are so many things to talk about that we've got in front of us. And if I still lived in Marion County, Tiff, I don't think I would run for mayor, because it's
too much straight ticket voting. You wouldn't win.
It's a hard slog. I raised $1 million in 2019 and took a substantial loss, and on election day, and Cindy raised 40% of that and did better than I did. And so if she had the party behind her, of course, but she was an outstanding candidate, ran a really good campaign. I'm very proud of her, and I hope she stays in politics.
Yeah, and all of the candidates ran just worked hard. Andrew Harrison, you know, Cindy. We had Vivo.
Did Barsha win?
Barsha, no, nobody. I mean, we all were like, you know, some were even less than 40%. You know, it was, or the 38 or 37 are right in there. I mean, Michael, I think, was the closest one to get there and didn't make it. And so it's tricky. Now, Michael, is all of your district in Marion County?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was, but I wasn't sure because it was sort of out that way a little bit. So, you know, we had 6 Democrat House of Representatives folks in Marion County had no competition. Nobody ran against them. And I know there was some Republicans out in the rural areas. They had no challengers. So both parties have struggles trying to get in to the market, so to speak. So Tiffany, what do you have there?
So here's a question. I think that a Democrat female announced that she was running for mayor of Indianapolis.
Robin Shackelford. Yeah.
Robin Shackelford, yeah.
And so, you know, conservative ideas fix problems. I mean, can she fix it? Can she fix Indianapolis?
Well, Joe's running too. So
Joe's what?
Joe Hogsett running.
Yeah. And we see where we are.
They'll have to decide. There'll be a kind of a real fight because the Democrat Party in Marion County, and Michael knows much more about this than I do. They have had a bloodletting, and right now I think that party is kind of they're kind of out on a limb right now, and I'm not sure if they know which way they're going.
Yeah, they think they're cutting off the other end that they're standing on. But you know, when you have 60% of the vote, you can screw up, you know, 10% at least and still win. So let's just speculate a little bit on who do you think is going to step forward on the Republican side? I mean, I've heard the rumor, you know, Greg Ballard is thinking about trying this thing. I mean, any other names out there? I know that.
What didn't he get like a new knee? I mean, why not? How about it? He's new and better.
He
Hey,
can
maybe
run
he
better
can get
with the
some
new knee.
new parking meters for his buddies along with his new knee. You know,
Oh
that'd be
yeah,
cool too.
maybe we can bring back the blue Indy. Now let's not pile on Mr. Ballard. He hadn't even announced anything yet, but
I mean, he's a great mayor.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know, it's like the recycle tour. You know, we need to get some new faces in there, new blood or
Hey,
something.
I went to the University of North Carolina and I graduated 25 years ago, and my football coach is back. Mac Brown's doing a great job. There's nothing wrong with recycling people. And I'm currently looking for my 8th grade boyfriend.
Notre Dame loved playing Mac Brown.
Yeah. So Ed, fire out another question. I know you got one. Oh, before you start, Ed, I just want to tell you today in the mail, I got a Spirit airline credit card offer. Yeah. I'm just thinking, wow,
Really?
Somebody must like me there. You didn't get one, did you, Ed?
Dude, there's probably
absolutely not. And considering they're going out of business, that's
that's where people usually come to me when they're on the way down. I just like, come on. So
you might say they're going to fall like a brick.
Like a yellow brick road. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you got, Ed? You got some more here? Well, here, let me give you some help. Let's talk about voter registration. So we send out letters and mail, and I know Michael's got some of this. This is some of the return. Now, these are supposed to be registered voters in Marion County, and these are just some of the returns I have here. So let's talk about voter registration and how it's updated or not updated, or does anybody else see any problems with that? Michael, show yours up again there, what you had there, your returned
and
registered.
This is the part I've shredded a good amount, but I keep it back every day.
So what's up? What are they doing down there at voter registration? Are they not registering? Or
I don't think they do anything, because I mean, I can share that the chairman of our party, Evan McMahon, had 7 different people registered to vote at his house, his home, which he's owned for, I don't know, a decade or two, something incredibly long, and 0 has been done about it. So he's getting all these, voter registration cards. I got to pick on the Democrats because when I look at election fraud, certainly Republicans are involved. But sorry, Ed, I see the biggest fraud coming from the Democrats. And in this case, we've seen, what was it? FTX went from $18 billion. The founder, Sam Bankman-Fried, he went from an $18 billion net worth to negative 200 million in a week. But, that was all after the elections, after he had taken, Ukraine incoming money in the form of investments in his company and then laundered it and recycled it to Democratic candidates. So I don't know. That's what I'm seeing.
And you thought we got a bad beat, Mike.
No, I'll disagree. I have to disagree. I think it's lethargy. So just so you know, just for edification, each party gets an individual in voter registration, and each individual is appointed by the political party. So there's a Republican in Marion County vote, and this is for every county, right? There's a Republican and a Democrat that works in that voter registration office, and it's a pretty sweet gig if you're that person who gets appointed. I think they make between $65,000 and $80,000 a year. They get to hire somebody to be on their staff that makes, probably close to $50,000-$60,000 a year to do these cleanups. But honestly, I just think it's lethargic government work. I mean, it's a government role. Government's terrible.
It could be lethargy, but you know what I think it is? I think it's mutual protectionism of the old parties, because both the old parties worked pretty hard to keep us libertarians out. And if you think about it, game theory, you've got the if you're going into a prison, then you want to go on the attack. But otherwise, you want to maintain the nice guy status. And that's the way that you win in game theory. So if they're going to protect each other, then they can be nice to each other. And if they never discover voter fraud on the Republican side, being a Democrat, and the reverse, Democrat being the Republican side, you protect each other because you never uncover the manner of fraud. And in fact, maybe they do that to protect themselves from the fraud that would be revealed because they're both using the same fraudulent techniques.
Yeah, could be true. What could be a good suggestion, and this would be a state thing. It would be, requiring limit of term for those individuals who are appointed to voter registration, because the longer that they're there, the longer that they can work in cahoots together.
Well, I would say that for all political parties and all political positions, in fact, one and done, and not getting a parachute of retirement for the rest of your life. The fact of the matter is, the longer somebody is within a group of people, the better they can make alliances. And Jim, I don't know if you want to reveal everything, but I'm certain that there are times when, there are people that you're genuinely friends with. They're good people. I mean, I love Ed, and he's a Democrat. I love Tiffany. She's a Republican. I'm a libertarian,
We love
and
you too.
thank you. The
Notice how
fact of
she
the
didn't
matter is,
mention
on
me.
an individual, well, you're the moderator. You're supposed to be, besides, I don't want, Lisa to kill me. But you know what? The fact of the matter is that these are good people on an individual level that you get along with, but you're still going to have the theater of the politics on the floor, and you're going to pretend like you don't like each other. And we know that this goes on in Congress. They're all conspiring against us, the American people. And I would say that they're stealing money from us directly, but the Ponzi scheme, creating money out of thin air and quantitative easing, and the Venezuela that we're going to become. Gosh, I could go on for hours. I'll just shut up.
Yeah, you're saving tomatoes and potatoes and all that, prepping and ready for it.
Nobody cares. The fact of the matter is nobody cares that their money's been devalued. Nobody cares about Bretton Woods in 1971.
They'll care when we can't go to the Walmart and buy stuff. That'll be a problem then.
Right. So let me once again face our viewers, and say, grow your own food, get some backyard chickens, 5-gallon, gas cans are going to be your friend in a little bit. Make sure that you have a way to grow your own food, because the only, was it Henry Kissinger said, if you want to control a country, then you get its energy. But if you want to control a people, control the food. People don't understand what we're being set up for with this diesel shortage that, I don't know, what are we down to? 10 days worth of diesel? Without diesel, nobody eats. Forget about your Crocs coming in the spring for, Walmart. I mean, let's talk about, your basic vegetables and canned goods, let alone meat. People don't understand when Biden's talking about a dark winter, he's talking about a dark winter, and Europe's about to experience that with the pipelines being blown up. Thanks, CIA.
Wow. And we're not even to the conspiracy conspiracy fact part of the program or not. So I'm going to shift this a little bit. So, Mr. Merritt, you've been in politics for 30 or so years. How many?
1975.
Wow. Okay. So let's go
I
back
was
to
4.
1975. How much has it changed besides Nixon got impeached? How much has stuff changed? I mean,
it kind of changes with the world. The world has changed incredibly since 1975. I was stuffing envelopes. I was 16 years old. I was just one of those grunts that was grinding it out to see if I couldn't get a job somewhere. The world's changed, and such politics and government's changed. And I've seen it change incredibly quickly, more quickly in the last 10 years or so because of social media. It's access to data, it's access to people, and people don't seem to care that they tell the world that what they're eating or who they're seeing or where they're going or where they are, and data runs the world. And Lucy, I agree with a lot of what you said about diesel and about the situations that are going to affect us very, very quickly. And food does run the world. A hungry nation is not a powerful nation, and that's why I go work at Lord's Pantry Dan's house, is because I feel very, very deeply, sincerely about hunger, and nobody should be hungry in the most powerful country in the world. And so politics has changed incredibly in the last 50 years, and some to the good, some to the not so good. And it's a bitter arena. And there are a couple of people on this show that felt that, and I've felt it. And so, is there change on the way? I don't think so. I think the status quo is what everybody wants, and I do think that gerrymandering or redistricting is in the eye of the beholder, and the Democrats are probably going to try to take at least one of the 5 Republicans out of the city council because they can, and they'll have even more seats. But it's a wild world out there in general, but politics ain't being bag.
Yeah, well, hopefully it's not Michael that gets to be one of those 5. So, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to do small talk, and then we're going to have Jim and Michael do one comment on that. Then we're going to bid them adieu, and then we're going to go to our special portion of our program that I know Lucy can't wait. She's probably going to choke this guy that we're going to call. But anyway, here you go. Let's listen to Mark Small. Let's see what he's got to say this week. Mark Small and Small Talk.
I'm Mark Small. This is Small Talk for November 15th, 2022. Well, the elections are over. What do we do now? Well, we have more elections. As odd as it may seem, this is the system we have. Somebody is always saying all politics are local. In this instance, we have municipal elections coming up in 2023 for Indianapolis and Marion County, and actually all over the state of Indiana, they have municipal elections where they have municipalities. That makes sense. Now here, we're going to have up for election is the mayor of Indianapolis and also the 25 members of the city county council. There's only one party in Indianapolis, and I've said this frequently to people, and it's the Green Party. It has nothing to do with the environment, it has everything to do with the color of money, which oddly enough, the last several years, they've been changing currency to less all green with some more blue and holograms in there. But the idea is that, for example, if you've got a construction project, a major construction project to go in and you want TIF money, that's bad. TIFs are bad. Everything's been done like 4 or 5 years before the public even knows about it. And then they will mention it in passing with TIFs. And that's where I have a real problem with the way they finance things around here. A TIF is a bond issue, but it doesn't have the same checks and safeties on it that a regular bond issue would. Tax increment finance districts were brought in the 1950s in California to try and get money to places that otherwise wouldn't have investment. Now, our statute for TIFs, that's how they put a lot of money into play in Marion County on projects. Our statute says that there has to be a need there. Otherwise, they wouldn't get the money if it weren't for the TIF. I'm in Broad Ripple. We've got a TIF here. That's absurd. They would have been investing here anyway. And this is from people who normally say, well, let the market work. Let the market work. Because I have to wonder also, while we're throwing public money into private pockets, why we get such lousy, ugly buildings. Not only that, it takes forever to put them up. There's a building on College Avenue here in Indianapolis, in Broad Ripple, just a couple of blocks from here, that they started construction on it August of 2021. It's November of 2022. It's not exactly the most exacting science to put up a 4 or 5 story building, and it's ugly too. So I think we really need to look at how our funds are being used. And remember this, when somebody tells you it's not going to cost the taxpayers a dime, not now, down the road it will. I'm Mark Small. This is Small Talk for November 15th, 2022. Peace, love, happiness, freedom. I approve of this message. Hell, I made it.
So it looks like Mark's got it in for TIFs. And I got to say that TIFs, and by the way, for those people that are dedicated viewers that did not watch the big Donald Trump announcement tonight, no surprise, Joe Hogshead's running for mayor, Donald Trump's running for president, and let's see what happens. So there you go. So what do you think with Michael Hart? I know that you deal with these TIF things. Let's start with you on this this TIF idea and what Mark's talking about.
So there's a lot to unpack there between just municipal elections coming up and then TIFs in general. My take on just trying to put everything together and kind of staying with the theme of the show in terms of elections. I think TIFs and abatements are going to change elections in Marion County probably in the next 16 to 20 years. And here's why I say this. So we see a lot of TIFs in downtown Indianapolis. And a majority of the TIFs, or majority of the city's debt, are in TIFs for Center Township. And what type of developments that come with that are multi-tenant housing. So we're seeing a lot of apartment complexes, and the Democrat office, that's pretty much the mayor's office and the city council at this point, they really put a feather in their cap, and they say that they're doing a lot of this in terms of equitable housing. And so the way that they're able to say this is that they require the developers to put at what's called set aside so many units inside of the building that are for subsidized rent. And so they call this 30% of units at 10% AMI. And so they reserve some of those units for 30% of the annual median income within that area. Now that's all multi-tenant housing. That's all we see TIFs for currently, for the most part, inside of Marion County. Now we see abatements, which are just another tax tool that developers can use in order to build buildings, to keep it short. We see those more for subdivisions, and we see those happening outside of Center Township. I see a lot of those in my district over here in Warren Township. We see them in Wayne. We see them all over on the outskirt townships. What's going to happen, what I see happening is a lot of folks are going to get outpriced in Marion County in the Center Township side of it, and they're going to start moving out. And then there's going to be a lot of folks that are already in the outside that can't afford these new developments, and they're going to move out side of Marion County. Now it's going to take probably 16, 20 years for all this to happen, for everything to get built up, for everybody to start moving. But I think, TIFs in general are a feather in a cap for developers, right? It's something that they have the useful life to do. They have the ability to do it. They're going to try and do it. If they don't, then they're not a smart businessman. That's just the way of the world. Same with abatements. But when you bring it all together, they're not going away. And I think that the city is trying to do something. They're trying to put this vision together, because the only two things that we see being developed right now are multifamily units and logistics facilities. Us as consumer are driving these logistics facilities, but the vision of the mayor's office is the multi-tenant downtown, and I think it's going to turn around and bite that party again in the next 16 to 20 years.
I don't know if I can stick around that long. Geez, whew, that's a good one. So, Mr. Merritt, what do you say about TIFs and some of these things? And when did you start seeing them raise up? Because it doesn't seem like TIFs have been around for a long, long time, and just all of a sudden they sort of got popular.
Yeah, they have in recent memory have. Two things about what Mr. Small said is in Columbus in the 50s and 60s, Irwin Miller, who was a philanthropist, if you were going to build a building in downtown Columbus, he incentivized you by paying for the design, and he had incentivized you to do something different. And the architecture of Columbus, Indiana, is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's good.
So there is a way to do what he was suggesting. Two, TIFs can be productive, but they can be really, really damaging. I've got a friend who just became the township trustee of Buck Creek Township in Hancock County. Well, that is the home of the new largest Walmart distribution facility in the country, and along with probably 40 or 50 other buildings that all have been TIF'd. And she has a fire department now that doesn't have a fire chief. He retired. Two, she has 4 broken down fire trucks, and 3, she has 20 firefighters, and she has an airport to protect. The airport protects itself, but the township also is there. And not only that, we know the Walmart facility out by the airport, out on the west side of Indianapolis, burned down, and so she has a lot on their plate of building and possibly building a new fire department, building a fire station somewhere in the area in Hendricks County, excuse me, in Hancock County, but also getting a fire force that can support and be paid for. And so she's got to be very, very, she's got to be magical and figuring out,
like making bricks without straw.
Yeah,
So
that's exactly right. So that's my point. Is TIFs can be good to promote development, but they also can be very, very damaging. And she's trying to build something before the first year when she takes over.
yeah, and I say that TIFs are giving away your tax money before it's collected. And if there's some pretty nightmare stories for up in Allen County, Fort Wayne, of big developments that didn't work out. And I can hear what Michael's saying. You just cannot rely on that. And here in Mars Hill, they're going to put a 75-year TIF on my fine neighbors to pay for a floodplain. And it's like, I don't want to get started. That's a whole nother show, and my blood pressure is going to go up, and it's not going to be good. We got that. Well, gentlemen, we appreciate you taking the time with us tonight. I learned more things tonight, and we wish you luck in the future. And if you have any announcements that you want to make in the near future, because I still think there's a little fight left in these two dogs that we got on our show here. So
plenty here.
Plenty, yeah, I see that. Like I said, you're more active now than you were before. So
because he's an influencer.
Influencer, yeah. Where you got to have the lip gloss and all
Jim,
that. He's got
Jim got named in an article in what was that, Importantville?
Oh, did I?
Yeah. Yeah, they were talking about if Braun runs for governor and Victoria runs for his seat, that you would run for hers.
Yeah, Tiffany, I'm going to watch everything shake out and see where Trey Hollingsworth is, and Eric Doden and Braun and Suzanne and Sparts, just see where the opportunity is. Appreciate you.
I hope Victoria Sparts runs. Her brother-in-law is a friend of mine, and we spent many times at their table eating the most amazing food. So that would be really just hilarious if I have to debate her or something. That'd be amazing.
Oh, I like that.
So there you go. And so Michael, Jim showed a couple of his cards in his hand there. What do you have? What's on the horizon for you, young man?
Hey, I'm a counselor for at least the next year, right? I'm waiting for some of these numbers to come out, but we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, that was very short statement, sir.
Michael,
but that's all right.
We have to have lunch, you and me.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Anytime.
I'm going to come too.
Okay.
Wait a second. You can't, Tiffany. You can't just invite yourself.
Okay, so we have three Republicans that are going to sit down and conspire. I just want to say this is demonstration.
We're going to go to
conspiracy theories are real.
Where are we going to go? Cake bake?
Jimmy's
Diner. Yeah, we're famous down there, man. You should have seen all the peoples that we brought in there. It's like, it was good. So, yeah, Jimmy's Diner. That's the place to go. All right. Well, hey, thanks a lot, gentlemen. We're going to bid you adieu now. And thanks for coming on. And hey, keep being a Mouthwash fan. Someday I'm going to get new T-shirts when our budget gets increased here for the show. So then look forward to that. So, all right.
Lucy, thanks for leaving me alone.
Yeah, I know. Lucy.
Jim, I'm
okay?
very fond of you politically. I think that you have done a lot for Indiana. I wish that you would do more of the things that I would like you to do. And if you can turn the floor into like a World Wrestling Federation, exhibition, I got a couple of names.
Well, we can make that floor hemp because they're making flooring out of hemp these days.
Now you're talking my language. Thank you.
So, Jim,
I think you just brought that up to get on Lucy's good side. What's that, Tiffany?
Jim, do you have a garden? Are you prepared for the end of days? That would make Lucy happy.
He doesn't have time to garden. He's out saving the world.
He has financial resources. He'll be fine.
All right, gentlemen. We will talk to you later. You do not want to be involved with this show. What's going to happen next? So
I'll be watching. I'm interested.
Yeah, you can watch. But all right. Okay. So now that was a fun show. Lucy, you were on your best behavior. So,
I
Tiffany, you didn't go to
didn't even
commercial there or anything.
I didn't even start with the tiffs because you're right. It needs to be a whole show.
Oh my gosh,
creative ways to steal from the electorate.
These
Fun.
tiffs,
They were good. They were good guests. That was nice.
It was a good conversation, and I think that both of those guys have. I'd like to see them continue in government. I think they both have their hearts in it. Actually,
I would like the abolition and dissolution of all government because I'm an anarchist.
Yes.
So I can't agree with that statement.
No government at all.
I know it. But
pave your own road.
We got it.
Well,
so
you know what?
So
you don't need governments to pay roads.
Ed, before you got on the show, the ladies made a group effort without you here. So you listened to the voicemail that I got at 2:30 on Saturday. So we're going to go ahead and play that on the air. And now I'm going to have to warn our viewers. It is past 9:30 or something like that. So most kids will be in bed, but there is some language involved in this. But I thought this was sort of funny. Lucy's ready to wring somebody's neck, but we're gonna call this guy live on the air. So we're gonna see how the show went into the dumpster tonight. But first, I'm gonna go ahead and play the voicemail. So I have to warn you, it's about a minute long, and it's very flattering. I mean, the guy, you can tell the guy loves me. So here you go. Let's listen to the voicemail, and on the other side, we'll dial him up and see if he answers, because this ought to be interesting. All right, here you go.
John Schmidt, you bastard. You have all these promises on this flyer and you're not delivering them. What have you built? What have you even built? Well, I see you're running for House District 97, and people are more important than political parties. So I mean, I could get on board with that potentially. You're a substitute teacher. I mean that got to be hard. But at the end of the day, you're not a real teacher. And I'm really not in favor of these tax cuts. But I don't even know if you won. I guess election day's over, so I can't even vote for you anyways. But you know what? Give me a call back and I'll talk it over, because I think you could persuade me, but probably not. Thanks, John.
Okay, so there you go. So we were able to find out his name. He left his voicemail has his number on there. It's Anthony King, probably goes by Tony. So let's go ahead and dial him up here. I'm gonna put him on speaker. See if we
call has been forwarded to an
automatic voicemail.
31762.
Let's leave him a message though.
We should each take a turn.
At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
All right. Hey, this is John Schmitz. You left a message on my voicemail Saturday night around 2:30 in the morning. I'm just wondering if you're okay. And yeah, it said, give me a call and maybe I could persuade you to vote for me. But of course, you missed election by like 4 days. But that's all right. Just hey, give me a call back, Tony, or do you go by Anthony? Anthony King. So yeah, I know who you are, so you might as well call me back and we'll have a chat. I'm a good guy, and if you wanted to check this out, you could watch the Mouthwash Talk Show, because you are basically live on the air right now on your answer machine, and Ed's doing you drank too much signal right now. So anyway, give us a call back. We'll be on for another 10 or so minutes. It's about 9:15. It's not 10 o'clock. So you're probably just getting ready to go out and go partying, because I know how you young kids do it these days. So, all right, we'll catch you later. All right.
Bye.
So that's what you have. You have live TV. That's what you have there. But so, Lucy, you've run for office before. Have you ever gotten anything?
Oh yeah.
What was your worst one? What was your worst one?
Well, the worst one was the death threats. The people that said that they wanted to harm my children. And of course, I had all phone calls going to Dorn, who is an imposing figure physically. And there was, on more than one occasion, times when Dorn took those calls as my campaign manager and invited people. Hey, yeah, man, if you want to have this out, nothing between us but air and opportunity. Let's meet up.
So what, I mean, I remember you running, and this was before I got in politics. That was in 2016. Is that when you did that?
Yes, and 2018.
2018,
What's funny is the lack of logic. I mean, you heard the voicemail that the guy left for you. It sounded like a whole bunch of teenage girls at a slumber party, and I'm just going to guess that Tony was the pillow biter. That's just me. I'm just guessing. Maybe the man was getting pegged.
Well,
Who the hell knows?
I thought it was funny. I really did. I thought it was pretty funny. So
I'm irreverent as the libertarian, but the thing that is funny to me is I'm simultaneously blamed for being the spoiler, for being the person, the Democrats say, if it wasn't for you, we would have won. And the Republicans are like, if it wasn't for you, we would have won. But at the same time, they say that, the libertarian slice of the pie is irrelevant and that we hold no power. So we're either deciding every election or we're completely irrelevant. I don't know which it is.
So
y'all get in Marion County.
Dorn says it was the Donnelly mailer.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So this was evidence of Democrat voter fraud. Sorry, Ed, but it was super creative. So what ended up happening is when I was running against Braun, the Democrats came in with mailers that actually made it look like I had secretly sided, with the other party. And so there were these comparison mailers that compared me with Braun. And they said, Lucy Brenton is the true conservative. Well, yeah, that's actually true because Braun was a Democrat for many, many years before he switched sides, just like Trump did in order to get elected. And they pointed out that, and everything that these mailers said was actually absolutely true. And they were huge. They were like 11 by 17 and folded in half to go through the mail. What's really funny is the indicia was from a couple of different Catholic schools and a nonprofit. So whoever had these printed up actually was fraudulently trying to get another organization to be blamed for it or to pay for it. And the flyers, these postcards did accurately say that I had never voted to put a tax on anybody ever. But Mike Braun, while he was in the Indiana Senate, he's like, I'm an outsider. I'm not a politician. I'm like, dude, you used to be an elected politician. I mean, that's so dumb. But he voted literally for every tax increase. So to say that he was conservative or for the people was just absolutely inaccurate. But yeah, the Republicans accused me of, I don't know, cutting a backroom deal with the Democrats by having these things comparing me to Mike Braun and therefore making me the clearly superior candidate to the Republican. And therefore making it more likely that Donnelly would win. So it was just hilarious.
That is, I mean, don't you feel good though that you ruffled some feathers at least? I mean, this time I ran.
Dude, if I could do like a mud wrestling bikini match against any of my opponents, I would probably prevail, and I would do that for the sake of liberty.
You would do that. I think that would definitely be pay per view. But so I had a robocall go out, and then I want to go to Ed's story because his is really sort of one of those that just makes you go But I had a robocall go out. And I recorded it. Somebody sent it to me, but the recording was so bad that I'm not going to play it. I just tell you the long and the short of it. It says, on November 8th, don't vote for John Schmitz because he's for defunding the police. He's for taking away your constitutional carry, and he's not for safety in Marion County. So on November 8th, don't vote for John Schmitz. I'm like, and there was no disclaimer, no anything on that. And that makes you wonder who really sent that out. Is that somebody, what's up with that? I mean, and so, it was, it's just lies. I mean, at least the stuff that I sent out was, that was truth. My guy didn't go to vote on a lot of key votes, and we had evidence to back it up. So, Ed, tell us your story about the restaurant, dude. That was something else. And why?
First of all,
draw that ire.
I have no idea. First of all, I'd like to say you just gave me the perfect idea for a fundraiser. If I ever did run, I would do mud wrestling, and you would have to pay not to view. That would be a great fundraiser. But yeah, I actually, I was community organizing before then, and I probably caught a lot more flack when I was doing community organizing than I did when I ran. But I was actually at a local diner here having a meal with someone else who was running for a township position. We were just having a casual conversation. We were nothing political really. And somebody from another table stood up as him and his wife were leaving. He spit right in the middle of my plate and told me I was the most disgusting person he'd ever seen in his life or met in his life, and then walked out. And so the interesting thing is I've been going to this diner for years, and I know the waitress, and I've gone back even recently, and she always laughs because she said that couple they were regulars, and they haven't been back ever since then, and she thinks it's because the wife was so embarrassed of what happened. And to this day, I'm still really curious. I have no idea what it was that set that guy off and made him do that. But yeah, that was probably one of my more interesting interactions when I ran.
Yep. So I got an idea, Ed. We could Lucy and Tiffany could take you on a bikini mud wrestling, and that would be like that from Stripes. I don't know if that was the movie that was in. That was when John Candy was like.
These are
I was gonna say, you trying to say I got the body of John Candy?
I think you could. I know. I'm trying to say you could probably take both Lucy and Tiffany.
I'm sure you wish you had his bank account at least.
Yeah.
There'd be we could probably get a lot of viewers for that show. So Tiffany, I know you've never made anybody upset. You've run for a couple little things here and there, right? And has anybody ever really just like giving you a hard time?
People have been mean to me, but in other ways. Nothing it's subtle.
Nothing.
Yeah, but there were times in the military where I always felt included, and I knew when I was being excluded. It's kind of like that, different rules, different people, stuff like that.
Just like they say that the worst thing you can do to somebody is ignore them. So that's.
Well, I wouldn't say it'd just be barriers. It's kind of like when I was in the military and when I worked in the corporate world. If you need X number of qualifications, you need X squared, stuff like that.
So it just makes you stronger, right? Is that what it does? Makes you stronger. So
bigger,
all right.
Better, faster, stronger.
Well, hey, we almost kept this to an hour. So I will forward the phone number to our guy there, Tony King, and you guys could all leave a message and try to get him to come on the show. We'll talk about. We'll make him famous, right, on this thing. So that being said, how about the conspiracy theory? You ready for that one? Is everybody ready for that one tonight? How are we doing on that?
I'm always ready. Ready.
All right. Here we go. Hey, y'all. It's time for the conspiracy theory, so you better get your tinfoil hat out and let's see what's going on this week. Well, since I had to scramble for my hat since we weren't on the air last week. So it feels like we've had like a month off, sort of. So, but so, hey, here we are at the end of the show. And look at Tiffany. Even at the office, do you have like a spare tinfoil hat at the office?
I do. When I first started on this show, remember my internet was horrible, and I used to always do the shows from here.
Okay.
So initially, this was my very first one. This was my very first.
Man, that's like a Christmas ornament or something like that. He's like, can I put a star on the Christmas tree? Oh, look, Ed's
got a crown.
It's like Ed's like a voting machine. It malfunctioned.
Oh no!
Oh yeah!
I didn't mean that, did I? So
Don't
okay.
pick on Ed. He's my
all
buddy.
right.
I'm a paper ballot, baby.
That's right, all the way.
Right?
I got one of my antennas is a little bit off there, so I'm catching stuff.
You're
from
gonna
Ukraine
lose
on
that
one.
antenna.
I know it's terrible. So
Like a gum wrapper.
let's start with Ed tonight. I mean, I poked fun at you about my Spirit Airline charge card. I mean, is that going to be like FTX? As soon as I sign up, it goes out. So now I have one.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I'm going to save mine. I just thought of my conspiracy theory. So okay, go ahead.
So hey, I couldn't go anywhere else but with the Indianapolis Colts this week. Bringing in Jim Irsay, bringing in, Jeff Saturday, never had any coaching experience at the college or NFL level, coached at the high school level, but didn't even have a winning record there. It brings him in, and the whole NFL world is up in arms. How could you do this horrible thing of bringing in someone without any experience and doing injustice to the coaching world? And then he goes out and beats their Oakland Raiders in his first game. And so I just wanted to give a shout out and also just debunk the fact that NFL coaches are smart, because Jeff Saturday just came in and beat who's considered one of the geniuses, offensive geniuses. Yep,
Whoa,
go ahead.
Time out. Jeff Saturday is a graduate of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where he played center, and the coach was who? Mac Brown.
Who lost
That is some
this year?
conspiracy right there.
Notre Dame.
Wow. We're learning so much
He
tonight.
did you guys a favor.
There you go.
All right, Tiffany, what do you got? What do you have for it?
I got nothing. What's going on? So I'm going to predict a spike in COVID cases as we all go indoors. And this round will be milder, and we will figure out that we shut down the world because of a cold.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing they say now is sneezing. So that's what you get, sneezing is the thing. So it's going to be a sneeze fest instead of a snooze fest. So that's what I think. And I've been sneezing a lot, so maybe I got it. I don't know. But I know people that are. One of Lisa's wedding helpers this weekend had to take a knee because she's a nurse, and they tested, and she had basically coughing and chest cold pretty much, but it was COVID. So whatever. So Lucy, I did think Tiffany sets you up like volleyball player.
Oh my
You're gonna
goodness,
spike
right?
this thing.
So quick history lesson, almost exactly 3 years ago today was when Event 201 happened, and that was the dress rehearsal for the coronavirus devastation. For those of you who aren't aware, Event 201 was where major corporate, supranational sponsors like Bill Gates and Gavi, which is his vaccination arm, the Global Alliance on Vaccination, whatever. They all came together and literally planned out the pandemic, down to the social media tweets that would be released, down to having fake newscasters and fake broadcasts pre-recorded so that they could play this just like I play the game Risk with my husband or my kids. That's literally how they planned out the coronavirus. So Tiffany, you're not wrong. Anything that they can do to relock down the country, to kill small businesses and hand all of that revenue and business off to, Walmart and their other corporate donors is there. But that's not what I came to talk about tonight on Conspiracy Theory. What I came to talk about is to remind people, I'm not a boomer, I'm a Gen Xer, but to remind people that if you don't have the keys, you don't have your crypto. And, there's lots of different ways, Ponzi schemes that people can be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And one is the age-old greed gland. So you think that you're going to get something for nothing. You see in YouTube comments where people are like, I'm so happy I invested my $7,000 and it brings me back $21,000 every week. It's like stupid, right? If it sounds too good to be true, it really is. If you're going to invest in something, the first rule is don't lose your money. Yes. Well, yeah, actually the smartest thing is to invest in yourself. And I'd like to shout out Ty Lopez because he says that all the time. You should be investing in your own brain. But if you've got to learn how to hold your own crypto, take it, put it in a wallet. Don't leave it out on these exchanges, because we saw what just happened. $18 billion just dissolved. And the problem that I've had with crypto from the very, very beginning is the fact that it takes money and resources out of the real world to create digital world. My first biggest problem with Bitcoin, for example, was the idea of mining. You have to use up real electricity and real physical earth resources in order to do the computations and then be awarded Bitcoin. And now we see that a lot of people took, I mean, albeit it's fiat money, but a lot of people took dollars out of the quote unquote real world. They transferred those dollars out of their bank account to, these crypto companies that, quite frankly, just funnel the money to their own causes. People really don't understand how that works. So obviously, first rule of investing is don't lose your money. And probably the preliminary rule to that rule is understand what you're investing in. So give a shout out to my friend Tiffany and to myself as a mortgage broker. invest in cash flowing assets. You take, a couple $100,000, you invested in some real estate, your money didn't go away. It's just changed forms from fiat money to something real. And then by providing great housing for other people, you're exchanging value. They have some place to live. You're loaning them your asset for a while. You get cash flow. So make sure that if you're investing something, it has a real way to grow. So not so much conspiracy theory tonight as, again, conspiracy fact, and protect yourself, from crypto scams.
So how how much do you think this FTX debacle is going to hurt crypto?
Well, I think what'll happen is, and it's already happened, is now, there's another dip. See, the thing is, people will still trust Bitcoin because there are a certain number of Bitcoin ever. The biggest problem with Bitcoin, and if you've ever heard of Tim Ferriss, who wrote the 4-Hour Workweek, he did this amazing interview on his podcast, and I'm not going to remember the lady's name, but she was a federal prosecutor, and she's actually the one, not that prosecuted Ross Ulbricht for Silk Road. So there's probably too much history to go. We've only got 15 minutes here. She didn't prosecute Ross. Who she prosecuted was the rogue FBI agents who were not just stealing Bitcoin from Ross, but also blackmailing other people and going to the banks and doing a lot of things. So what she demonstrated, and this is, 10 years ago, she demonstrated that when these two rogue FBI agents, who were not working together, by the way, they were doing completely different scams, which surprised the heck out of her, because when she found the first FBI agent committing fraud, she thought that it was just him, and then she found the one that was let's see, crypto fraud. I'm putting this in Ross Ulbricht. I'm trying to find the name of that, or actually I'll just post it in here later. Her name was Katie Hahn, and it was all about the dark web and how that works. So anyway, getting back to that, Bitcoin, because it's on the blockchain, is completely trackable, forwards, backwards. That's the beauty of blockchain, is that everything can be verified. So if you do a transaction, your Bitcoin can get smudged. So let's say that I'm wanting to trade a Bitcoin or a part of a Bitcoin today that demonstrably 5 transactions ago was used, to buy weed or, marijuana or something in a state that you're not supposed to. That Bitcoin can actually be deactivated because the government can identify where that is. There are people that have been that have had their crypto taken from them by government forces simply because that can be tracked. So
Yes.
shout out to Crypto Vigilante and Jeff Berwick, cryptovigilante.io or thedollarvigilante.com. I'm a subscriber to the newsletter, so I do get a lot of really good information from him. You need to look at crypto that is truly private. ARRR, which is Pirate Chain. That's my favorite. There's another one called Dero, DERO, which is all about smart contracts. A lot of people are aware of Monero. So what we should all be figuring out is how to have a side hustle or side business where people pay us in crypto. But make sure that, somebody's paying you in something that's not trackable by a government, and it is truly private. So anyway, that's the thing for the night, people.
So it sounds like that the more stable cryptocurrencies probably benefited from this, because it's going to weed out some of these suspects. It's almost like junk bonds and penny stocks, and and then you have the real market.
There's always a scam, and people don't understand. They always want to get rich fast. But the thing is there are these laws in the universe. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. In the free market, both people are winners. If I want to exchange, my little silver dime for a pound of butter and buy it from the gal that has a cow, she gets the value of the silver and I get the value of the butter. So you can literally say that the butter bought the silver and the silver bought the butter. People have to understand that there is no free lunch, right? There is no free lunch.
If the meal is free, you're on the menu.
Yes,
Ooh,
exactly.
That's a good one. We should start a restaurant name that. That would be good.
Yeah, just be skeptical, and
Be
Yeah.
vigilant.
Well, and the thing to be most skeptical of, obviously, is the US dollar and other government fiat currencies. That's where you should be the most skeptical. I mean, if we're losing 9% a month for inflation, if you've got $100,000 in the bank, from now to 30 days ago, you're down 9 grand. Let's just face it, those are the facts. But had you moved that money into silver, it would have been stable or it would have been up. And it's not that the silver or the gold or the hard asset in any way has increased in value. It's only increased in value relative to the number of pieces of paper. So you go back to 1913 before the Federal Reserve and our modern times started screwing stuff up, and you have the word dollar, which means 1/20th of an ounce of gold. So you had 20 rectangles, 20 green, $1 bills that equaled 1 ounce of gold. And you could buy, a man's suit and tie and shoes and, the whole accoutrement. But nowadays, gold is 1700, 1800. So it literally takes 1,700 little rectangles to equal that same amount of gold. So the gold didn't change in value. It didn't change about the exchange of value for value. It's simply that the government stole from you and big money donors, stole from you by having that money printed out. People don't understand what just happened with the stimulus, and then I'm going to shut up because it's 10:20. But what happened with the stimulus? What happened with the stimulus money is when that money gets printed and it gets distributed, there's a lag, right? It took a year for us to really start to feel, the effect of our food being, 30%, 40%, 50% higher. So it's almost like a first mover's advantage. When, all the politicians' friends got their giveaways and they got that money, they got it before the money was inflated. So they got the full value of, I don't know, what, $3.5 trillion or whatever now was $3 trillion. But we got that stimulus, $1,000 at a time or whatever people got 6, 7, 8 months later. So we were using discounted dollars. We were using dollars that weren't as powerful. So anyway, it's all a big scam. And so the only thing I can tell people is withdraw your consent as much as you can and wherever you can. Have zero to do with government. Have as little to do with social media as you can, and make your alliances, make your friendships in the real world, so that when the poop hits the rotating oscillator, you'll have real people with real skills that you can barter with. And if you don't have a lot of space to garden, look into microgreens. You can take from a seed to 2 or 3 inches tall. It's the most nutritionally dense food that you can get. And as long as you can do that over 3 or 5 or 7 days, you'll never starve.
Wow.
I'm out.
Okay. I mean, that was a lesson on currency there in a short period of time. So my conspiracy theory is that there's going to be somebody run as an independent for mayor because it only takes 4,450 signatures, of registered voters in Marion County to get on the ballot. And that is down from the 6,108 signatures that was required. Now you may ask, well, how do you come up with that formula? Well, the formula is 2% of the votes for Secretary of State in the district or region that you're running in. So Marion County had 222,000 votes, down from 302,000 votes just 4 years ago. So in 4 years, Marion County has lost 100,000 voters that just didn't vote. And we were talking about that earlier, that they didn't vote. So that drops the 2% down to 4,400. And I know a guy last time that got 5,600 votes to do that. I mean, signatures to do that. So I don't know who that's going to be, but somebody, maybe it's Tiffany.
So John, this is going back to something earlier in the show. I hate this, but if every Republican in Marion County turned out, could you guys do it? Could you win?
No, it is brutal. I even had Democrats voting for me. I had them sending me, I voted for you. And I still couldn't even move the needle enough. It's just simply, and I don't know, your voting machine is not the same as ours possibly, but you go in and it basically guides you to straight ticket. It's just basically, it guides you to that. And but I just think that, that the people are so polarized by their party that they don't, I think they're lazy in the respect that, hey, I just believe in this party and I'm going to go vote that way. And you can't talk me out of it. So that's what I think. And then my other part of the conspiracy theory was that who's the quarterback for they used to be for the Patriots. What's his name? He's a real good quarterback. Tom Brady. Yeah. He lost $650 million in the FTX. That's what I saw somewhere. So who would put that kind of money in that? Does that sound right? Does it sound like, does that sound made up?
That sounds about right. I mean, they put FTX on a stadium someplace.
Sounds
I mean,
about right.
Probably seemed legit.
Yeah. Well, he had a picture with this Sam guy with him. It's like, you know,
Well,
I think
it wasn't
everybody liked the nerd.
Ooh, he's frozen.
You're frozen.
Well, the
Is it
deal
that
with
cold
his
up there?
wife wasn't just that it was his investment.
What's that with Sam with the
Am I frozen
FTX?
again?
Yeah, a little bit. We're good. We're good.
Yeah, so they were also spokespeople.
Okay, yeah. So you think that his was okay? Yeah. Well, I mean, I know everybody's heart's going to be broken that Tom Brady lost a bunch of money, right?
Should we send him canned goods?
Maybe send him some canned goods. We'll send him a grow your own food garden aid.
Send him
Lucy,
an Applebee's gift card.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You guys are mean. Tom Brady,
he just lost
Okay, Brett Favre has some money
650
for it.
million. 650 million he allegedly lost in the FTX
Brett's
scam.
got it. Brett's got him. Brett Favre's got him. He's like, dude, I got you.
Is that what he said? I don't know. It's just a crazy world we're living in right now. So, all right, everybody. Hey, I don't know what we have next week. What? Anybody got any ideas? We're supposed to talk about this after the show. So we're going to go ahead and send this one home to Mother. Let me get to the part there. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. It's good to be back. We're steadily marching on to our 100th episode. We're going to do something fun and interesting on
When's
our 100th episode. I think it's going to be between Christmas and New Year.
It's right after 99 and before 101.
Yeah, that's all I know. I mean, Lucy is our cryptocurrency math person on this show because I'm not it. So, all right, everybody, let's say peace out and we'll see you next week. Yeah, that's what we'll see you next week.
See you next week.